I want to say Colonel Huckstep, but I think I demoted you. So please give us your title. I know it's
right.
Mr. Huckstep. Welcome.
Colonel David Huckstep,
I got it
County
right.
Sheriff's
Very
Office.
good. All right.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, City Manager. The sheriff came to you about a little over 10 weeks ago to address an issue that we have at the Sheriff's Office with yours and our employees, the Combined Communications Center, the dispatchers for the 911 Center. We're having a very difficult time to recruiting and hiring new people, as you were given a presentation on June 6th, and we're not able to retain those same employees. And the reason is because of the pay. They're not willing to continue to do the work for the pay, for the economy that we have today and other jobs and what's being offered. So we gave you a pretty lengthy presentation on the 6th. It showed you a couple of videos and audios of actual things that they're doing in the center. Some of them were pretty emotional, you might remember. We told you that we have over 25 vacancies, and we only have 91 employees in the communications center. So we're required by an interlocal agreement in the operation of your combined communications center and ours that anything that was going to bump the budget a little more than 3%, we need to come to you and get your permission. We made that presentation. A number of weeks have gone by, and we had not heard anything until we reached out to you. I know you, Mr. Mayor, had talked to the sheriff on this issue, and I know I've talked to the manager some, and the county manager has spoken to the issue. It appears, we don't have the vote yet, but it appears we have the support of the county on their half of it. The amount of money that's involved here is somewhere in the neighborhood between $450,000 to probably $490,000 on your half of it. We won't know the exact cost till it's trued up at the end of the year, but it's the approximate amount that we're looking at for an increase regarding the bump in their pay. Their current pay is at $13.82 now, and we were looking to bump it to $16. The original goal was $18, but it was just way too expensive to ask for that much at this time. So we came to you, we did a presentation on it, moving it to a $16 increase, and then the other pays would be adjusted accordingly. With that said, we'll end it with just some final statements that we've received on exit interviews of the employees, your employees, our employees that work in the Combined Communications Center. These are the things that were said during exit interviews as to what the issue really is. The pay is atrocious for what you're asking us to do as professionals. Just up the salary and you'll get corresponding qualified people. Agreed. Pay is way too low. Ask us to do shift work, holidays, and weekends. Never mind the stressful profession that this is. As much as I like helping people, this is a job I'm not sure I can do anymore, especially for $14 an hour, all the trauma that you're exposed to. If they only would pay more, try paying a rate equivalent to the responsibility and stress.
Thank you, Colonel Huckstep. And we will, at the end of public comment, address the issue that you bring up if you'll just wait around.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Okay, before our next item, Colonel Huckstep, I apologize profusely. We got kind of all in the middle of that, and I didn't answer your question. The action the commission took was to refer that request to the Combined Communications Executive Committee for further discussion. The city has approved our tentative budget for next year and our tentative millage rate. And so we did hear loud and clear, but we're sort of already approved the budget. So we'll take that up in quick order at the Combined Communications Executive Committee, and our staff will be ready to sort of learn what we need to do and hopefully be able to help fill that gap in the coming budget year. Okay, so I'm sorry I didn't get right back to you about that, but thanks for being here tonight, and our best to the sheriff as well. Madam Sheriff, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all about a funding item of mutual concern. For the record, my name is Sadie Darnell. I'm the Sheriff of Alachua County. And to orient us to the issue, including the public and the viewing public, Alachua County, the City of Gainesville, and the Alachua County Sheriff's Office has an interlocal agreement regarding the operation and funding of the Combined Communications Center. And I will tell you that our Combined Communications Center, in which we all share responsibility and operation is a premier site. Absolutely something to be so proud of, especially in this time, especially in regards to public safety, communication, and disaster-type events. It has been looked at as a model throughout the state and will continue to be so. But we have a problem. Staffing is a problem. Well, before I go on to, I want to make sure I have introduction of my staff who are with me here today, because they did the bulk of the heavy lifting regarding this presentation. With me today is John Morehouse, who's helping me with the PowerPoint and the IT portion of this presentation. Jim Lanier, who is our division manager within the Communications Center. He is very connected nationally, if not internationally, to the career of telecommunications. And then Colonel David Huckstep, who is second in command at the Alachua County Sheriff's Office. The presentation that I am showing today was presented also to the Board of County Commission. The interlocal agreement specifies that anytime the funding needs that are shared by the entities within the interlocal goes beyond a certain threshold, that it needs to be presented to the partners, and that's why I'm here today before the city of Gainesville. Our telecommunications world is a critical need. It is a critical need in the work that they do, but it's also a critical need because we are having a tough time of getting applicants who tend to want to be in this high stress, high responsibility career, but also because we are all challenged by the great economy that we're having and the very low unemployment rate. So we are competing among each other across the nation for all types of jobs, but including these that are highly skilled and take a special, unique mindset and skill level. I will say that compared to the rest of the agency, as you know, I have law enforcement. We are doing very well in our applicant and retention pool within our law enforcement. Within our jail, we are at staffing and better than we have been in years. And so this right now is the weak link within the agency, and I need y'all's help in addressing this issue. The vacancies, and this goes back to April 2019 in preparation for the presentation before the Board of County Commission. We have 27 vacancies as of that time. And to give you a comparison, there are 91 positions within the center. It is a 24-hour, 7-day operation, so it takes a lot of people to manage all those shifts. We had those vacancies that are reflected here, which is almost a 30% vacancy rate. We're having a very tough time recruiting, and the overall theme that we are hearing is that the pay is low. The starting pay currently is just over $13 an hour. The Florida average is much more than that. The $13.82 represents about a $28,000 a year pay. And again, this is shift work, holiday work, high stress, high responsibility. And the request is to raise that to $16 an hour, which will move the starting pay from around $28,000 to $32,000. It's not a huge jump, but it is in line to make us competitive across the state. The pay is around $31,000, so if we can get to $32,000, that will help us be competitive. And then you add into the community in which we live as another attraction, especially with the University of Florida and Santa Fe here. The total cost would be around $1 million, and again, that will be shared among the partners within the interlocal. The primary bulk of that cost will be shared between the City of Gainesville and the Board of County Commission. And the training. Now, this is where we are unique. There's some basic level training that's required within the state, and that's that first entry there, the State of Florida certification. As you can see, that's 232 hours. Every telecommunicator, a call taker, and 911 dispatcher has to be certified within the state of Florida. There are some significant fees if anyone other than someone certified answers a 911 phone or dispatches a call. So those fines are intended to be daunting. And so that happened several years ago, requiring that certification. And I know there's a story behind every situation where there's a requirement. I don't recall what the story is behind there, but I'm sure it was tragic. In addition to that certification, all those other points are what our employees at the CCC achieve certification. It's not required, it's over and above, but it is to serve our community at the highest level. As an aside, our accreditation level within the CCC is at the highest level consistently over years of achieving the accreditation. They even had to set a new category for us to be able to move to the next level. So that's something of which we're very, very proud. The last entry there is one I'm going to dwell on just a bit. It's the Emergency Mental Health Dispatching Protocol. We are one of the first centers in the nation to have our employees not only train, but to utilize emergency mental health. We have learned over time, again through usually tragic situations, that there are people in our community, whether they're visiting here, whether they live here, or whatever the reason they're here, that they are suffering with a form of mental health crisis. And if they call into 911, we want the person answering that phone to be as well trained as they can. This actually, the story behind it evolved after the Robert Detmont shooting, 16-year-old who was armed with what we all thought, both GPD and ASO thought was a AK-47. Turned out to be a replica, but he was killed tragically. He was suicidal. From that, we reached out using Manager Lanier's context to find out the best type of protocol that we could put into place to keep that from happening again, but also to make sure that our employees are receiving the type of support that they need and training that they need so they feel comfortable as one can in dealing with really intense suicidal and other types of mental health crisis situations. We're not alone in the situation of competing and having difficulty retaining and filling vacancies. This is an example. You have it in your packet from Orange County, Florida Fire Rescue. The quotes are that the hours are long, the job is thankless. They listed that they had, for 2018, they're trying to fill 52 dispatch positions. Of course, they're a larger county, but they're having the same problem in attracting and retaining people. And it's not only in Florida. This is from Newport News, Virginia. Same situation. There's a dispatcher shortage. And it goes on and on and on. You've got it in your packet to look at. And then with the advent several years ago, if not a decade, of cell phones, people used to call in on a hard line. And that created the E911 system so that address popped up on the screen for our call takers and dispatchers. Well, with cell phones, that doesn't happen. And so they may be calling with an area code out of New Jersey, but they're right here in our community, and it's a cell phone. And then there's the advent of texting that is coming in on 911 lines, and we're prepared for that. But you have to be very agile in your skill set. We're offering a $5,000 hiring bonus, and the funding for that comes from the lapsed salaries due to the vacant positions. So we all talked about what's the best use of that money. We need to attract applicants. So the hiring bonus means that you get it once you hire on, go through the extensive background, the testing phase, and you're actually hired on. That's when the bonus comes about. But this was posted on our social media site. It has a significant reach. But the comments, as you can see in your packet, but for the public, I'll read some of them. They pretty much deal with, the pay is too low, the stress is too high. I don't think I could do the job that these people do, and that the pay and the shift works were the main criticisms of those positions. So we really believe that increasing the pay to the $16 an hour, and I know that your philosophy is to increase the minimum wage. I know that, and I've seen that, and I commend you for it. The county is of the same philosophical stance from the standpoint of people need to have a living wage. And we see this as a career path, and so this is a career, again, that is unique for people who have to be what we call polyphasic. They have to handle a lot of things at one time. I'm going to give you an example of a 911 call. This is an actual call. It's very intense. It ends well. So hang in there, listen to it, put yourself in the position of a call taker and a dispatcher, and for just a brief period of time here, and then know that it does end well. So I want you to have that feeling, and folks who are watching and here in the room to also have that feeling. And before we play it, if you know of anyone, your neighbor, a friend, anyone who is out there listening that you know of, I've got pamphlets out front on the counter that really have them come in and be encouraged to check us out. We're having an open house on Saturday, June 22nd from 10 until 2 in the afternoon. Come on down to 2621 Southeast Hawthorne Road, where the main station for the Sheriff's Office is located. It's in a separate building. We want people to sit in the chairs, to go through some of the initial training exercises, to put on a headset and listen and be exposed, and hopefully get them hooked into this career path of commitment to public service. We're going to play the tape now, and then I'll be here, of course, to answer any questions or concerns that you may have.
He's losing a lot of blood out here.
Okay, what?
409.
Okay, what's the problem? Tell me what happened.
We don't know. Somebody just pounding on our door. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not opening the door.
Okay, and it's a man, you said?
Yeah, and he's got skin hanging off his face. He's bleeding a lot. It looks bad.
Hello?
Hi, where's the fire at?
It's at my daughter's room. She's in there. I need help, please. Please, I need some help.
Is the room
The room is on fire, please. I need some help. I need some help.
Okay, we're going to get help to you.
I need my daughter out of there.
Tell me exactly what happened.
My baby is not breathing. My baby stopped breathing.
Tell me exactly what happened. Do you know?
Actually, about 10 minutes ago or so, he was fine. He was sleeping with us. He was fine. And then I just opened my eyes right now, and he's not breathing.
Okay, are you with him right now?
Yes.
Okay. And how old is he?
He's 6 months old.
Is he conscious?
No, he doesn't seem like.
Is he breathing?
No, I don't think he's breathing.
Okay, I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line, and I'll tell you exactly what to do next, okay? Are you right by the baby now?
Yeah.
Okay, listen carefully. Lay the baby flat on his back on the ground and remove any pillows.
Yeah.
Okay, kneel next to him and look in the mouth for food or vomit. Is there anything in the mouth?
No, he doesn't have anything in his mouth or in his mouth.
Okay, place your hand on the baby's forehead and your other hand under the baby's neck and shoulders and slightly tilt the head back.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay, can you feel or hear any breathing?
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how to give mouth to mouth.
Okay.
Okay, with the baby's head slightly tilted back, completely cover the baby's mouth and nose with your mouth.
Okay.
Then blow 2 puffs of air into the lungs, about 1 second each, just enough to make the chest rise with each breath. Okay, did you feel the air going in and out?
There you go. It went inside.
It did? Okay.
Yeah, he coughed.
Tilt his head back again.
Okay.
Put your mouth over his nose and mouth.
Yes.
I want you to give 2 more puffs.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, then. Okay, then pump the chest 30 more times. Okay? Okay, make sure that your fingers are on the breastbone.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30.
Okay.
He's making sound.
Okay. Is he breathing?
He's breathing.
He is breathing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Slightly, very slow breathing.
Okay. He breathing regularly?
Yeah, he's a little bit turning.
Okay, is that him crying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good job.
Come on, baby. Come on, come on.
Okay.
Come on, come on, come on. I don't know. Turn it up. Come on, baby.
All right, but if he's crying?
He's pale. He's pale. yes.
Right, but if he's calling, you've done a great job.
Thank you, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is the fire department with him?
Yeah, it's the AMR.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Very intense, right? Yeah. I've heard it several times, and it's still very emotional.
Yeah.
But to be in that chair and having to maintain control and your composure and to give those kind of instructions takes a great deal of training, takes a great deal of support. We work with our partners incredibly well, fire, rescue, law enforcement, and it is a wonderful career path, but it takes its toll. And it's hard to get people into this work, as you can see from our data. I'm asking for your help, your consideration. I know you have a lot of things on your budget list of funding requests. I ask that you include this as one that is very important and prioritize it in the way that you see fit, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
We might need a recess for about 2 hours here.
I know.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for your entire team for taking time out of their day to come
They're
present this to
terrific.
us. Yeah, they are. I also want to remind, well, our commission I'm sure knows, but our public that we recently participated with y'all on an audit, and basically the report, just the short version is that it brought us back 100% confidence in the investment that we're making and the service that's provided by the facility. The findings were minor and more Scrivener type differences than operational challenges, and so we have a great deal of confidence in the level of service that y'all are providing to us and the other communities that participate.
Thank you.
In the Combined Communication Center. So Mr. Lanier, thank you, Colonel, thank you as well, that I know that you've really helped make that into the incredible value that it is to our residents here in Gainesville. So with that, there might be a couple questions or comments. So Sheriff, stick around. Commissioner Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Sheriff Darnell, for being here, and then thank you for operational staff there too. Really, the people are making the calls. It's
Thank you.
tough work, and having to work overtime and stuff like that, cover shifts it's hard.
It's very tough.
So I mean, if any of the commissioners haven't been out there, I definitely would recommend going out there for a tour and seeing what the facility looks like and how many different monitors and things they're having to do all at once. This is a financial operational kind of request from the city. I would like for staff to do an analysis of what this would mean. I mean, we close to 50% of the calls. Is that approximately around there?
The percentage of your calls?
Yeah, about 50.
Based upon the
give or take.
interlocal agreement, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I actually looked at that before I came today. Typically, we say that the interlocal is about a 50-50 split based upon the call load between the city of Gainesville and Alachua County. High Springs Police Department is now in the mix as a small user. They don't impact the percentage for which you pay very, very much, but when I looked at it, you're about 47% for the full year of 2018. What the data shows for since that time, month by month, is that there's a steady, slight decrease below 47%. I don't know what to attribute that to. I want to look at that a little bit more. I don't know if y'all are having less calls in the city. It doesn't feel like that. So we want to look at that a little bit closer, but it seems to be a slight decline from the 50% that we typically have seen over the years. But I'll definitely would look into that, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
And that would be a request from our staff to look at the financial aspects of it and just the analysis from city staff. One thing I think also is, as kind of the Sheriff Darnell pointed out, I mean, we are seeing High Springs come on, and then these other municipalities are getting larger, and I know there's been discussions over the past couple of years about the agreement itself, and should it be looked at in terms of kind of, I mean, it's been, what was it, signed in the 90s? Is that correct? The city got rid of ours?
It's been over 10 years, I believe.
Okay. I think it's been amended many times over again, so that might be something I think we should look at as a commission too, is just the agreement itself, and is it still kind of fit the needs? And I do think a combined center is the best way to do it, is making sure that the governance and everything, I think, fits with the user profiles that we have. But also, this is not I wish this kind of came earlier in the year, definitely, since we just kind of passed some stuff yesterday in terms of our millage and things like that. This is not a small budget increment for us to consider. So I don't know if in the FY20 budget we could do that full amount, but I would ask for an analysis from staff. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, for everybody watching at home and here in the auditorium and some of my colleagues, not everybody is probably aware that Sheriff Darnell used to do a very similar job for GPD in the Wayback Machine.
Your dad, yes.
Yes,
your dad.
My dad worked with Sheriff Darnell at GPD doing
That's
a
right.
similar job to this. It's a very different job today that it used to be. You know, not that it wasn't stressful then, I have no doubt, but today there's so many ways and so many never-ending calls coming in. You know, most people, myself included, we're used to, if things get tough, you get up, take a walk around the office and come back and, you know, figure things out. It never ends. You know, all those screens in front of you and the calls coming in, it just never ends. Those folks are absolutely heroes. And, you know, we'll talk a lot about heroes today. They're doing heroes work for barely a living wage, probably not even a living wage. And I absolutely want to take care of this. We do need to get analysis from staff and get all the numbers right on our side and make sure we can do this right. But I'm certainly in support of helping be a part of getting this up to at least $16 an hour. My understanding is that the county employees floor is going to 14 this coming year, so that they're a little ahead. The county's a little ahead of where we are with moving the wage floor up. So that gets a little bit of the way there, but we can, you know, after analysis, certainly participate in this. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you. It brings back great memories. Thank you.
Good old days. I don't know, Sheriff, if you've seen the new video released for Tom Petty's song Gainesville, but there's a video.
No, I have not seen that.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's on YouTube. And talk about memories in the good old days. It's fantastic. There's some great vintage footage in there. I wouldn't be surprised if you're in the background in one of them and we just didn't know you as a little girl. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. So I think there's a couple issues here. One, certainly, if the commission wanted to refer a discussion of the interlocal, as we're going to approve committee appointments later, he's like, well, mayor didn't sign up for anything. Well, one of the many committees I'm on as mayor is I serve on the executive committee with the chair of the county commission and the sheriff that oversees the combined communications center. That's something we could take on. It would actually probably start with the administrative executive committee, which is made up of the professional staff, and they could really get into that a little bit. And then if there needed to be sort of direct action, then we would be happy to take that up. You know, and I think it's always good to go back and look at interlocals after a certain period of time passes and make sure they're still relevant, and or perhaps they could be strengthened. And then the second is the funding impact. You know, so I agree with that we need a little bit of financial analysis on that, and I'd also want to talk to our colleagues. You know, the county commission, y'all are obviously different. You're an independent constitutional officer, and you run your own department, but you depend on the commission for your funding. We're clearly a little bit more directly involved with the funding and operations of our police department. And so I would want to talk to them and see what they're capable and willing to do. And I want parity between the two. So we're sort of having that same discussion when it comes to school resource officers as well. We want to make sure that our two departments and agencies are in alignment on those kind of funding issues. So if you'd allow us to do that, we still do have some time and some ability to you know, make some funding changes and requests. We didn't take final action yesterday, but we would like to know what that means. Certainly going into July, so we'll try to do it quickly.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I recognize that we're all in the midst of our budgeting for the next fiscal year, and so we do need to have the discussions. I've been talking with the superintendent, and we'll be presenting before the school board also, because there's a big funding issue there, some mandates from state level that continue to happen. I will say that the Combined Communications Center is, and when it was done a decade or so ago, it was well ahead of its time from the standpoint of merging two very key areas of local government and serves as a model. I mean, we dealt with seniority, we dealt with pensions, we dealt with hiring and the transition, and it is now firmed up and doing very well. I so appreciate you mentioning the audit, because that was several months long that Mr. Holt and his staff were in, and we wanted them to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, which is what they did, and had no qualms about what they would find. And any recommendations they were made, we were receptive to. But it was, as you mentioned, it came out very, very well. And we are audited as an agency every single year and have gotten, glowing reports every single year for over 16, 17 years. The accreditation, again, I can't stress how important that is, that we maintain the highest level of accreditation for this field of profession.
Okay.
Well, we would welcome any discussion that we need
Sure.
to have, definitely, as we move forward.
Excellent. Yeah. So thank you for that. And Commissioner Ray Santos, you were ready to make a motion? Or?
Yeah. One more question too. So in terms of the county, they have their wage living. You set your own. Is that correct? You don't fall under their living wage kind of floor, or do you?
When they set the the minimum wage, then yes, they provide the funding, because that's the piece that they provide to cover the employees at the Alachua County Sheriff's Office.
But are these employees somewhat separate, or they would still fall under that too?
They fall under that
They fall
too,
as well.
yes. It's just where the interlocal specifies that any of the funding impact that's over a 3% level, I need to come before you to let you know of that as you go through your budget process, make you aware of what that funding is. And right now, between the city and county, the funding is around $1 million. And so that will be split, whatever the percentages say. And right now, you're at about 47% for the year 2018.
Okay. And the sheriff, you brought up earlier, I think the sheriff did as well, the school resource officer thing, and then the funding levels there. And if the sheriff is somewhat successful in that, I mean, that and we had parity between ours and what the sheriff's trying to get, that would free up funding as well, that may be able to go to pay for these too. So I think that's something to keep in mind. We are subsidizing the school board by a significant margin. That could go to helping to pay for this and ensuring that everyone has great 911 service. So I'd like to move that we request analysis from our staff of the request from the sheriff, and that we also refer to our staff for analysis of the Combined Communications Center interlocal agreement from our staff as well.
Okay, motion and second to both look at the funding increment request from the Sheriff's Department, and then I don't know if we can refer something to the Combined Communications Executive Committee, or we could do that through the Executive Committee as well. So we'll figure out how to deal with that.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. Any members of the public wish to speak to the motion? Mr. Holt?
Carlos Holt, City Auditor. I just wanted to mention, sir, a couple things that you went over about the audit. We did already make the recommendation, and could have the overhead, please. We did make 3 recommendations to the executive board in November, and one of them was the third one here was to assess the applicability of the interlocal. There's several things that over time has just either been changed or never existed, but so some things just couldn't be followed. So we made the recommendation. I haven't heard anything back. In fact, that was one thing I was going to be following up with our follow-up on recommendations audit, to get some feedback from the executive committee on where this is on probably rewriting the interlocal as a whole. The other things, in the responses from the sheriff and the county and our own people, they'd already taken care of a lot of these things with the controls and compliance issues and stuff. So they were, as you stated, it was a very good audit, and this, which dealt mainly with the financing part, nothing to do with the operational of training people. And since we do pay a percentage of the, based on the calls, that how many of them are, and it was around 49%, around I think 2017. So I think the sheriff is right that it's dropped some, and I just wanted to let you know that first of all, anybody staff analysis, you should probably take a good thorough read of this again first. And it's not the most exciting read in the world, but does contain a lot of that information, might save the people some time.
Thank you, Mr. Holton. Sometimes a not very exciting read's a great read. Sometimes too exciting is not a good thing. Anybody else wish to speak to the motion? Okay.
Mr. Mayor
Sure.
and Commissioners, during the break, I talked to our step aside, I talked to my command staff, and they mentioned that it was 1999, 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
When the two governments were merged in that regard. So it's been down the road, and it's doing well, except for the vacancies. So
Sure.
appreciate any consideration.
Thank you. And just a little food for thought, Sheriff, not to suppose any reason for the decline in calls, but we have had our community paramedicine program, which has very clearly identified our highest utilizers and tried to link them up with social services to prevent those calls. And we know there has been a significant drop, and I don't know if that drop accounts for 2 or 3%, but it certainly could because they're our highest users. So.
Right, well, definitely that could factor in. You're absolutely right. I read that, and it's a very commendable program.
Yeah, absolutely. We're proud of it and happy to share it with anybody that wants to listen to us. Okay, well, with that, we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank
Again,
you.
you're welcome to stick
Appreciate it.
around for the rest of the afternoon, or if you have more important
We'll
things
pass.
to do, which
Thank
I
you
hope
very
you do, we'll send you on your way. Okay.